Hey guys, hi, hello, it's me Devraj. Welcome back to this series on bioenergetics and body-based therapy and kind of modern psychology, useful stuff, as I like to term it. I was never interested in psychology or psychiatry or anything when I was younger, and it all seemed to be boring, kind of, I don't know, technical, philosophical kind of stuff. And then when I started to do therapy, I found, wow, there is actually interesting stuff in psychology, though mostly it's not coming from guys with PhDs. Today I wanted to look at a question I get quite often asked by young men in particular, and that's around feelings, around emotions. And people ask, when is it okay to share my feelings? Guys brought up in today's world, that the world is changing a lot on a psychological level. I was brought up in a world where men weren't really allowed to share their feelings unless those feelings were kind of based around anger. It was okay to be angry and a bit charged up, aggressive as a man to try and live to some kind of idealized male stereotype, but it was not okay to be vulnerable in any way, vulnerable. And that came out of a phase of our development in Western society where overly rigid physical and emotional stereotypes were idealized, and young people felt they had to live up to this very rigid kind of character. As a man, you had to be this kind of aggressive, square-jawed winner, alpha, and as a woman, you were more on the submissive line, and if you didn't fit in, the concern was, of course, that you would be, that you would not get a partner, that you would not get a job, that you would not get proper friendships. And it is an unfortunate aspect of our recent ancestry from hunter-gatherer and tribal cultures back in the primate times, that our fear of not fitting in is very, very high, much higher than it needs to be in today's world. And that is because if we didn't fit in hunter-gatherer, early human culture, or in many kind of other primate cultures, if we were ostracized from the pack or the tribe, chances are we would die. And so, a lot of our brain still has those kind of fears lodged in there, and our fear of not fitting in is very high. And that's why as human beings, although we can achieve quite a lot of technological sophistication and make things look pretty flash, we're still pretty primitive in many areas of our psyche, and that means we can very easily be exploited or manipulated. But the reality is that despite these kind of imperfections, in a sense, in our old brain, and how easily we have been manipulated and exploited by people in power or whatever, society anyway is a vast exploitation game on a certain level, and tribal culture too. Despite this, a lot of change also happens, and a lot of guys these days are left thinking, what should I do with feelings? I've got all these feelings inside. What should I do about it? And are there healthy ways? When is it appropriate to share feeling? When is it appropriate to share feeling? And, one of the first things I often say to guys is like, if you can't access your feelings, your vulnerable feelings, your emotional wounding and pain, if you can't talk authentically outside of your ego, it's very, very difficult to have meaningful relationships. Maybe you can hang out with other guys and have a beer and have a bit of fun, rip the shit out of each other a little bit, and it's all good fun. But if you're trying to have a relationship with, a love relationship, with a woman, or if you're gay, with another guy, if you can't access your feelings, if you have to maintain a mask all the time, that relationship is going to be pretty shallow. So I recommend, you look for a relationship, where you feel you can share your feelings, where you feel the other person is open to that, where you can explore your inner emotional dynamic. I found that myself, immensely rewarding, not to have to always keep up the kind of alpha male kind of image or something like this. Finally, what is a relationship if all you're doing is going through a kind of rigid motion and you're not really sharing the whole depth of your inner world? You know, what is life if that is all you're doing? It's not so deep, it's not so meaningful. So I recommend, you know, in relationships, in close friendships or in love relationships, that you practice sharing your feelings. And if your partner is not open to this, I think you have to consider whether you're in the right relationship, to be honest, you know. For men in particular, you know, it's important that we can share what's going on inside, and it doesn't diminish our masculinity. In fact, over time, it enhances it and deepens it. It deepens it. So close friendships are areas where you can explore talking about, hey, I felt really vulnerable the other day. You know, I felt really insecure when you or this other person did this or whatever. Share, take a risk to share the bits that you don't usually share. Another area where you can really make use of, you know, sharing your feelings more deeply is when you're leading teams. And, you know, the reality is, of course, if your role in work or whatever is a team leader, you know, you need to demonstrate leadership. You need to have a plan or be given a plan from higher up or whatever, and you need to be moving the plan forwards and picking things up. But nevertheless, a big aspect of what keeps a team coherent and behind the leader is that the leader can also share their deeper feelings. The times when they are personally struggling, either with the project, you know, or with, you know, in their personal life. Having said that, don't use it as a manipulative thing so much, you know. Maybe there's an element of manipulation in that. Okay, I'm going to share with the guys a bit about my deeper feelings today and create a bit more group bonding, sense of harmony between us. I think it's okay, you know, but don't use it in a manipulative way to kind of reinforce your position or sideline someone in the team, you know, sharing your wounded feelings about their behavior in front of the others. You know, look how you give feedback, whether it's you're doing it appropriately. Maybe you need to take someone to one side. And that's also a great thing with, you know, the power that comes through being able to share feelings and come out of the fear of sharing feelings. In many social situations, it can be really good to ask to see someone one-to-one or just chat to them. And if they've been kind of mocking you or doing something to you, you know, you don't have to always act the tough guy. You can just share what you felt about it. And it will kind of, in a way, for most people who are a bit bullying in a group, you know, this will freak them out because their core program is that, you know, not to show vulnerability, to never show vulnerability, and then to have you share vulnerability with them, not collapse, still be standing in front of them, talking about your feelings, you know, it'll kind of spin them out a little bit. They won't fuck with you anymore, you know, and that doesn't mean you have to use that in a manipulative way, but, you know, finally, with young men, it comes to the bravest of the young men to show the rest of the group that actually it's okay to feel. So if you're watching this presentation and you're busy with feelings, you know, look for a situation maybe where you can take a bit more of a risk. Come out and share what's going on inside. I think it's great. It takes away a lot of the internal pressure we've been brought up as men, you know, to always have it together, to always be in control. I've really appreciated in some relationships being able to share feelings, and in love relationships I notice when I can't show feelings or I start to show vulnerability and the woman is like, no, I don't want this side of you, I want you to be like James Bond or something. I'm like, well, I don't know if this is really working for me anymore, you know, but I have to be like some kind of performing seal or something, you know, it's not really working, you know. And, you know, likewise with women who are, you know, in the past, I've been attracted to women who are very strong, outgoing, slightly hysterical, tend to be Latin background and stuff. And if they're not opening to receiving my feelings or talking at a deeper level, I also lose interest quite quickly. Because it's like, however good they look or however good the sex is or whatever, it's like if I can't share what's going on also in my heart with someone when I choose to, you know, then what am I really getting? You know, where am I getting any depth in the relationship? Finally, the relationship will just become a little bit like a state of addiction. Anyway, guys, I wanted to make this little video, particularly for those of you who are interested in this subject, and, you know, feel free to share a little bit your own experiences in the comments below. Also check out, Bioenergetics: The Journey, the 52-week online course. You know, we've got about 30 people or so on it at the moment, and it's just awesome. You know, about half of them are in one chat group, and people are going on a deep journey. It's really, really awesome stuff, and I'm just impressed at people who stick with it and keep going. A lot of guys are just working somewhere in their room, somewhere in the world, basically, and they're really up for it. And we keep moving. I keep doing bioenergetics pretty much every day. It's rare I miss a day, and I'm eternally grateful to it as a practice, constantly coming back into the body, becoming more embodied, going deeper. And I'm super happy to support and lead others in this direction. Okay, that's it for this presentation. And do good, be vulnerable, allow it, take a risk with it. Take a risk with your vulnerability. If you like a challenge, that's always motivating me. I like a challenge. Share your vulnerability, share when you're struggling, see how it goes. Let me know. Okay guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.